Following the sign to Camp Crystal Lake can only mean one thing: bad luck. For her, not for us. You see, in 1980, when producer-director Sean Cunningham released a little film into the world called Friday the 13th, not even he could have imagined the success or the fame or the carnage that would ensue. With 12 movies to date, an endless body count, and over $500 million in worldwide box office dollars, Friday the 13th gave birth to one of the greatest cinematic villains of our time. She doesn't know what she's in for. So lock up your cabin doors, zip up your tents, and make sure that your car does indeed start. Because tonight, he could be anywhere. So you wonder who I'm talking about? His name was Jason. For some of us, the problems we have as adults go back to our mothers. In the case of Jason, truer words were never spoken.
In the late 70s, Steve Miner and I had made a couple of children's movies, and neither one of them was very successful. And we had to do something to keep the lights on. And so it came up with this notion of doing Friday the 13th. We had a title and a need to make some money. The thing about the story is that it's so profoundly simple.
The longest part of the process of creating the first Friday the 13th was figuring out the venue. So I had to find some territory that was adult-free so that these kids would be on their own and we could pick them off one by one.
My character was sort of like the Janet Leigh in Psycho. I'm the setup character to follow. But I didn't last too long. I ran into the woods where it was safe.
We had this notion that these kids would be out at a summer camp and would be threatened by some kind of serial killer. We would then be surprised to discover who the serial killer was at the end.
Mrs. Voorhees, who is mighty pissed off that her son, Jason, drowned while a couple of counselors were off boning somewhere.
The counselors weren't paying any attention. They were making love while that young boy drowned.
The scariest moment in the original movie is when Alice realizes that Pamela is the killer.
Kill her, Mommy. Kill her. And that's the beginning of the chase at the end of the movie.
And when we think all is quiet and she survived that horrible Friday the 13th.
The boy, is he dead too?
Who?
The one who attacked me, the one who pulled me underneath the water.
Ma'am, we didn't find any boy.
Then he's still there.
And he certainly was.
Before we started filming part 2, they had us watch the original Friday the 13th, which almost scared me off to not doing the project because it really freaked me out.
After the first one, Jason had been created, so the notion of having a surprise as to who it is or what it is changed completely. So what the stories became was sort of a ritualized telling of a group of young people who go someplace where they shouldn't go.
What are you kids doing out here?
We come back to Crystal Lake to open up this camp again.
The ghost of the past, Jason, comes to haunt them.
And one by one, Jason Voorhees kills us and continues to do what he does best.
Part 2 was basically his journey of seeking revenge over the death of his mother. And he's got her decapitated head on his mantelpiece.
He just keeps killing and killing.
And that's the journey that's taken us for 30 years. It's remarkable.
I really thought it wasn't going to work the way it did, and I'm delighted to have been so wrong.
Friday the 13th, Part 3. We get the gimmick movie, Friday the 13th 3 in 3D, and that is also the movie where Jason retrieves his infamous mask.
The day after the events in Part 2, so it's technically Saturday the 14th, but don't tell anyone. A group of teenagers all go up to the cabin to visit Chris Higgins, little knowing that Jason is still out there killing everyone. Through all the 3D movies I've ever done, nobody talks about any of them. All they ever want to talk about is when can we see Friday the 13th in 3D?
4 is where things start getting interesting. It starts to introduce a protagonist, Tommy Jarvis, who we'll start seeing in other sequels.
But I was told that this was going to be the last of the series, and this again would be about death at the end, because Jason was going to die.
Jason had been hit in the head with an axe. He had been carted off in an ambulance. And we pick him up almost in real time, arriving dead at a hospital. And then Jason breaks out of the morgue.
Leave me alone!
And then the kids in the car arrive at the lake and bump into us. And there's skinny dipping and all kinds of things.
Partying. We're partying on down,
Yeah.
and then we all got killed.
In very quick succession.
My character, Rob, had a sister named Sandra, who was a counselor at Crystal Lake in Part 2.
And this dude looks like he's been hunting Jason for years.
The one time I saw the movie, going to the opening night screening on Hollywood Boulevard, during the whole entire movie, just people screaming. It was like this cathartic experience for everybody. It's a thrill ride.
I remember that we're supposed to think that Corey Feldman's going to pick up the torch and be the next Jason.
Part 5 was truly a departure because they went in a totally different direction.
They decide they're gonna set it in a halfway house for weird, fucked up kids, and there's this dude, and he's killing the kids off, and he's using Jason's mask.
And we don't see Jason in that movie, except for hallucinations, flashbacks, and that's it.
When the film opened, it was opening, I think, in 2,000 theaters across the country, 1984. That was a lot. Frank Mancuso called me late that night, 2, 3 o'clock in the morning. He was so excited, saying these numbers are like the golden times. This is unheard of.
When the supposed Jason fell, I love the part where he just goes right through those spikes. Because you can just see the dummy just going right on the spike.
Another piece of advice, don't allow the overweight, mentally handicapped son of the local ambulance driver to get hacked to shit over a candy bar, because chances are that driver's going to turn into a Jason clone and try to take people out.
They brought him back again in 6, and he killed Horshack at the beginning, which was awesome. And he was kind of like Frankenstein, because a lightning bolt that came out of nowhere brought him back to life, and there was maggots on his face, which was really cool.
I think it was extremely violent. I mean, you look at it and you go, wow, there's tongue-in-cheek in this, there's rock music in, there's this and this, but Jason, in fact, in this movie, bends people in half, twists their heads off, does a triple beheading.
I really didn't want it to be just about, you have sex and die, because that had been done. It's sort of like you're in the wrong place at the wrong time kind of thing, and also try to have the characters have a sense of humor. When Nancy's killed and the American Express card floats out of her hand, inevitably there was always some clown that would go, "Don't leave home without it!"
In Part 7, the girl who's got these extraordinary telekinetic powers resurrects him by, throwing her anger and her energy into the lake where he's already been killed from the previous movie.
She musters all of her telekinetic ability to raise him, and thus begins the story.
That's really made it different. She had the psychic abilities, which he had not fought before, but realistically, the psychic stuff would have had to have been in there anyway, because this monster kept coming back. He's a surreal monster.
And Jason, played by Kane Hodder, I believe, for the first time.
7 starts the Kane Hodder era.
Everything about the way Kane Hodder played him makes him menacing, and yet he's human.
I remember thinking,
wow, this is Jason. I grew up watching this, and here he is chasing me.
Since I was doing it for the first time, there seems to be some anger there, some differences that you didn't see in Jason before.
The kids love Kane Hodder's Jason.
The coolest teaser trailer to a movie ever was Friday 13th 8th, Jason Takes Manhattan. You get this trailer where you don't know what it is, and then they reveal that it's Jason in the middle of the city. I live in New York. I was stoked. I was like, oh my God, he's coming to New York. He's coming to where I know.
When they first brought me in to do the movie, the first question I asked them was, does it have to be in Crystal Lake? Can I take Jason out of Crystal Lake?
The general plot of Friday the 13th Part 8 is a young woman and her graduating class of Crystal Lake High going on a big cruise to New York. One by one, the classmates are killed off.
The single most amazing thing that I've ever done as the character was shooting the scenes in Times Square. Jason Takes Manhattan. I felt like a rock star.
Part 9. They went from not having blood to not having Jason.
There was something about Jason transferring from body to body to body, and
then Jason comes back to life and to Crystal Lake and is exploded and becomes a bunch of demon-hearted baby things and decides to, possess a couple people and then get thwarted again by 21 Jump Street himself, Stephen Williams. He wasn't really in the movie. It was kind of other people, and then if he was in a mirror, you could see him and he could transport into bodies, but the best part was when he was this little, worm thing, and he went and, the girl from Buck Rogers? Is that who she was? Yeah, he went in her pussy, and that was awesome.
They basically tried to create a mythology for Jason.
There are a lot of Jason fans who, to this day, are, pissed off at me for blowing up Jason.
Jason X takes place 400 years in the future, and a group of little science students, kids go on a field trip. These students go on, they're on the planet, they're digging things up, and of course they find Jason. Anyway, Jason wakes up and of course does what Jason does.
We set it up that Cam actually did kill him. This time he got killed, right? Then the nanobots bring him together, and now he's part machine. And so he's more unstoppable than ever.
To this day, still, when people mention that movie, they're like, oh, I love that fake boob scene.
All right, the story of Freddy versus Jason is a hybrid story. You're bringing these two great characters together finally.
It took them, literally decades before they came up with a story that was strong enough to support these two characters.
The premise of this movie was for Freddy to use Jason to get his powers back.
There came a point where, you had to choose a side. And I was a Jason guy, always. So for Jason versus Freddy, I didn't want to see anything but Jason kick Freddy's ass.
If it wasn't for Alice killing Mrs. Voorhees in that one film, none of this would happen.
I like Jason Voorhees. He has a backstory, and he has a reason for being the way he is. What a messed up kid.
I think that just in the overall energy of trying to do it simple and scary was the thing that drove the whole process forward.
And after all that, who could imagine that Jason, bloodthirsty, indestructible force of nature, was at one time an innocent kid, just like the rest of us. Well, most of us. Jason not only witnessed his mother's beheading, but he was shot and stabbed and burned and sent to hell and shot into outer space. I think to really understand Jason, you gotta go back to the beginning. You know who he is, where he came from, why he can't resist a good kill.
Does Jason have a soul? I don't think so.
He is not mindless. I think actually that's something that the fans would like to learn more about. What's going on in his head?
Jason started as a drowning victim. That's as simple as you can make it. He's just a little boy who was ignored by his camp counselors and couldn't swim very well and drowned. No matter what movie you're talking about, he's still a victim.
For any good villain, there's always that sadness to them and that thing where you can almost kind of feel bad for him. And he didn't do anything wrong. He didn't deserve to die. Jason was the outcast, and Jason was, the little kid who got picked on. And now Jason's the one who's getting the last laugh in a way, or the last slash.
Who did it start with? His mother.
Well, I'm Mrs. Voorhees,
an old friend of the Christies.
The fact that she's a loon, totally out of her mind, and also channeling her son and going,
Kill her, Mommy! Kill her!
the idea for the character came out of my own past. Mrs. Voorhees is the mother I never had. She is the mother who will kill people to avenge her son's death. But hey, if you're going to have a mother defend you, she might as well be crazy.
They love Mrs. Voorhees. And I've said to people, I say, why? Why do you love her as much as you do when she's supposed to be this dreadful human being? And they say, because we understand why you did it. Mrs. Voorhees was really not a murderess. All she was trying to do was to protect other children from being drowned.
One of the things that really works for part two is that you do have this kind of passing of the baton, from going from Mrs. Voorhees to Jason.
Basically, he is fueled by vengeance for the death of his mother.
And see, it's this seeking righteous vengeance that defines the Jason character and also separates Jason Voorhees from all the other horror icons.
Jason's misunderstood. What happens is when he watches Alice kill his mother, I believe Alice unleashes the monster in Jason.
You feel bad for anybody who has to see their mom get their head cut off on a beach. I know I do.
So he finds his potato sack, throws it over his head, cuts out his little eye hole. He does his thing. He starts plying his craft for the first time that he learned from his mom.
I think he observed the camp after many years, kids coming and going. And I think at one point that's when he decided to do what he did.
I think what he's doing is protecting his home.
And anybody that walks into his territory is kind of doomed.
Honestly, I don't think he's angry. I think he's sad. Poor Jason was brought into this world, and he really had a tough start.
Your mother killed a bunch of people. You would be a very tragic child, I would say. It's like kind of a Ted Bundy upbringing.
Here was this kind of tortured soul who lived for years just on probably the revenge. I think Jenny kind of understood that there's more to it than just this demon guy.
Jason, Mother is talking to you!
By putting on his mother's sweater and trying to speak like her, it almost confused him for a second.
You see him questioning, is that my mother? He wanted to believe his mother was still alive.
I guess Jason was a unique character. It wasn't just somebody who put on a face mask, he was a whole creature.
It's almost like Jason is like a personification of the dark side of all of us.
I find in this character elements of myself, and there are monstrous elements of myself that are bent on self-destruction and destroying others, and there are parts of myself that feel wronged, and I'm unjustly treated, and I'm the victim.
He just hated everything about people.
And his reason for killing is just because he does. Don't reason with him. He doesn't reason with you. He has his own, it's all in his own head, and he just does it.
He's definitely a tortured, tragic soul, but the truth is you can't go around life with this badge that you've been tortured and kill and slash. At some point, it's got to stop.
The main aspect that enhances the otherworldly character of Jason is that he's silent and faceless, like death, the death mask.
It's plenty scary, the mystery of the unknown. What is behind that potato sack?
In Friday the 13th Part 3, Jason wears for the very first time a hockey mask, which he has taken from Shelley when Shelley made the bad mistake of walking into the barn carrying a hockey mask.
And the moment when he puts on the hockey mask and realizes it, it's a great moment for the franchise, because it's like, what was I thinking? I should have been wearing this all along. This is awesome.
This dock behind me, this is where the legend of Jason was born. This was the first time we saw him step out in the hockey mask, the birth of Jason.
There's something to be said about putting a mask on and doing things that you wouldn't normally do with that mask off.
Jason in Part 3 runs. That's the one where he runs. Jason's a bit of like a manic hillbilly in 3 still. Got a little of that left over. After that, he becomes the sort of slow, methodical stalker.
If he sees you, he's not going to stop.
I mean, it's like a beacon. Once he's popped in on you, he's going to stay there until he kills you. And it doesn't matter what he has to use.
He's terribly creative, and he's got lots of weapons.
He really had a thing for knives, and he really had a thing for machetes.
He likes to puncture through the body.
He really likes spears.
Sawing off heads, twisting heads, crushing heads.
He was really into anything that would splash blood.
Punching heads off, eyes popping out. I mean, he's a showman.
It was really about watching Jason do his thing. He was the protagonist in these films.
He has become an anti-superhero.
So we just got to come up with a cape with a big J. I think we just get him to do some good stuff, though. I mean, he's got the killing down.
Jason's always been the underdog, and everybody roots for the underdog.
It's every nerd's dream to get killed and then come back as a badass and start taking out all the stereotypes that pick on nerds.
Why do you do these stupid things?
I have to. I think he's a little bit of a madman, perhaps. I mean, he seems a little superhuman also, because he seems to be able to revive and take almighty blows with hatchets and stuff.
Jason is a kid who's just too stupid to know that he's dead.
And I think it's always kind of inventive how we would bring Jason back. And I always loved that. It was almost like the cliffhangers in the old serials, How does he live to see another day?
Something's got to bring him back. Why not lightning, right?
We can blow him up, we can cut him up, we can shoot him up, we can dice him up, and he comes back for more.
It's great that as times change, audiences change, the creature, the monster, the villain, I think is allowed to evolve.
Jason is the 21st century killer. He's good old blood and guts.
I think that Jason is both a monster and a victim. This is a very deep character that survived this many episodes and killings and destructions because he's larger than life.
He's still that little troubled, mentally ill boy trapped in the large body of a killing machine.
He's become iconic in our lives. Jason has no expiration date.
Movies in 3 decades? That's enough sequels to rival box office legends like James Bond or Godzilla. Friday the 13th defined what is considered the modern-day slasher. Looking at this guy, it's no wonder why. But you know what? It takes more than a body count to make a Friday the 13th movie.
Formula is pretty specific with the Friday the 13th movies.
The first thing you need in a Friday the 13th film is nubile young flesh.
You have a bunch of teenagers, and they cannot be accessible by adult power authorities. They can't come in and save them.
You have to have a reason for the kids to be out in the woods.
It's the let's run out into the woods and, ooh, there's a killer loose.
The crazy old bastard.
Messenger of God. You're doomed if you stay here.
These movies are made for teenagers. And so the point of view is that anyone who is over a certain age or in a position of authority cannot be trusted, because that's how teenagers feel.
They have almost like one of each type of personality, so that no matter who you are, looking at the movie, you can relate to one of those characters. You want to have these sort of beautiful teenagers, which include all the stereotypes. The fat guy and the high school jock and the pretty cheerleader, and then the girl with brown hair who is sort of soulful.
The obnoxious teenager who you just want to die so bad, and when he dies, you all cheer.
I think every Friday the 13th has to have the promiscuous girl who is caught doing something naughty, and she pays. She's usually the first one to go.
And then they are picked off one by one, and you have to figure out as many different ways of making the teenagers dumb without being really stupid.
Because the great thing about Friday the 13th and other horror films is it gives a lot of people in the audience a chance to be way smarter than the characters.
There has to be teenagers having sex and getting killed while they're having sex.
Jason likes to get you when you're that much aroused. It's like he takes your sexual energy and he fucks you with his machete.
For the most part, the less sex you have, the higher chance you have of living.
Also has to be in the film, pair of breasts every 15 minutes.
It's showtime!
We were kind of short on the breast thing, I think. I can only count about three breasts. We need more.
I needed the TNA for me. To hell with the audience.
And then, of course, the important ingredient is Jason.
Jason is an unstoppable force of nature.
It's interesting how he could just walk and nobody could ever get away from him.
Well, and it also kind of seems like he's everywhere at one time. He notices everybody all of a sudden when they're just going to have a great time.
And if you go back and remember what it was that caused Jason's drowning, it was teenagers canoodling and not watching.
If you're screwing, you get killed.
We weren't doing anything. We were just messing around.
You know, have sex, die. That's the premise. That's the underlying theme, you know, going through the Friday the 13th movies.
I didn't have sex until I was 30 because of Jason. That motherfucker was the best contraceptive that a guy like me could have.
Slasher movies particularly are like Broadway musicals. You can't go too long without a song.
You can't go more than 10 minutes without a kill.
Kids went to see these movies to see kids get killed.
The kills have to be interesting and unique. And even the cast. The kids would come up to us, how am I going to die? How am I going to die? I think that's what audience came to see. How is the next guy going to get it?
It's pure fantasy, and we know it's fantasy. These films are better than the gory, modern killing films that are made to look so realistic.
Usually at the end of the movie, there's some sort of a jump scare.
The famous ending scene was not in the original script.
They really didn't have an ending. So I said to Sean, why don't we have Jason jump out of the lake, you know, and attack her?
Alice has this look of hope, and she's just trailing her fingers in the water. And at the moment when the strings just swell up, bam, that's where the trick is played.
The reason I think this has gone on is it transcends a lot of different ages, and the music is important because you're sort of heightened and scared just with the music and the visual all at the same time.
Music and score is another character. It's every bit as important as Jason.
Harry Manfredini, you know, took the minimalist approach and it works to perfect effect.
Music in a horror movie is crucial. It can make or break a film. And his score in that movie was just, you know, untouchable.
Kill, kill, kill.
No, that doesn't
No, that's not good. Okay, let's start again.
And if you go to the end of the film, you'll see a very close-up of Betsy Palmer's, Mrs. Voorhees' mouth, where she's saying to herself, kill her, mommy, and it goes back and forth between her voice and supposedly Jason's voice. And I said, bingo, that's it. So then I just went and I took the consonant sound of the K, K-I from killer, and M-A from mommy. I went up to a microphone and just went, and we ran it through something called an echoplex, and it ended up coming.
When you hear that, then you know you've got a Friday the 13th movie.
It created all the conventions of the slasher films that followed, pretty much using the template that was established on that first film in 1980.
Obviously, Jason Voorhees is a true worldwide icon. One could say that he's as famous as the Beatles or Madonna, a veritable rock star slasher if there ever was one. And what rock star would be complete without a greatest hits compilation? Does Jason have one, you ask? Let's ask this guy.
What are you doing, douchebag?
So Jason will kill with anything he could get his hands on.
It was another one that you sit in the audience and watch it with a crowd and everyone just goes, oh, dude!
The obvious, most memorable moment is with Kevin Bacon.
He's like on his knees under the bed. Me and my buddy Tasso under there, and I'm pushing the arrow through, and Tasso was pumping the blood. But an accident occurred. the tube separated from Tasso's pump. So he grabbed it and blew in it. And that's what made the blood shoot out and gurgle.
My favorite kill of all, Mrs. Voorhees, slow-mo. Doesn't get better than that. The ultimate kill by Alice.
We actually made a cast of Betsy Palmer's head. I attached it with toothpicks. So the toothpicks were just kind of holding it in place, knowing that when I whacked it with that machete, it would go through the toothpicks. But if you watch the movie, when Betsy Palmer is decapitated, her hands come up into frame and kind of like a grabbing air. They're Tasso's hands with hairy knuckles.
I don't have hair on the back of my hands, you know, like he did. I thought that was a little weird in one shot.
One of the things that turned out wildly effective was the backcracking of the sheriff's head.
They dug a hole, and those weren't my legs. They had a guy head down in the hole with his legs behind me.
But just that whole idea of bending somebody all the way back and, hearing all this, sound, drove them crazy.
Little sound design, a little screaming, it all turned out great. Wheelchair death in part 2, that was just fucked up.
He already gets your sympathy because you're like, oh, he's in a wheelchair. But then he's going to get laid. And then Jason just goes, you're screwed. And not only does he get hit in the face, but he gets pushed backwards down the stairs. And the camera does this great thing where it goes, whee!
I had a track around my neck with a flexible steel blade that pushed from the back, and then a false neck over it, which took hours to put on it. And, of course, I was eating a banana at the time, and so they had my mouth full of banana and blood. It was such a messy little death.
Hey, now cut that out right now. That's not funny.
There was a cable that was actually set up on the post that ran across to where she was standing. Gun was rigged in such a way that I actually hooked the gun onto the cable and shot it, so it went straight down the cable.
And in 3D with the glasses, it's incredible.
Well, we had to do it in one take because the minute I hit the water, the little prosthetic would absorb the water and just kind of slide off.
The hedge clippers to the eyes. That girl had the best rack, the best death, and her last name really had Voorhees in it.
That was pretty horrific. Way to go.
That shish kebab scene is so original.
They attached this back to me and then put the spear through the latex and had the blood pumping out. And they had a bed, which had a hole in it, and then she just kind of came in, sat, and then put her head back. Looked like I was lying on top of it.
Before it got butchered by the ratings board, and there was this amazing shot where you saw the real girl doing the last moment that she could have, trying to push the guy off of her. It was such an effective, disturbing sequence.
You just imagine Jason down there nah, I can't wait.
What about the dude who goes into a handstand and gets the axe right down the middle?
He took my head by force and slammed it through the wall of the Winnebago. And how they actually did that is they filmed it underwater. They shot it in slow-mo, pushing through this piece of plastic.
You start asking yourself, is there something wrong with you when you're spending your day thinking up ways to murder people? But I got over it.
They used a real spear, and it missed me by a speck.
I like it when he crushes heads.
We had a string go straight to the eye, till we could just pull the string and the eye would pop out of the socket, come straight down the line toward camera.
That is horrifically gory, but it's classic Jason.
My favorite kill in Jason X is where he dunks that chick's head in the ice.
We spent a lot of time on that, prepping it, and we not only just storyboarded it out, but we had to have a false sink with the camera underneath and a glass for the water, because I wanted to be able to see the face come towards the camera, not frozen.
And then,
bam! Face salad.
That was our most difficult, technically our most difficult kill.
I think his favorite thing is like smashing heads together.
Favorite Jason kill that I've ever done is the sleeping bag.
He bashed her against a tree, I think, at least 5 times, but we minimized it to once. And that was actually more impactful.
I cut his brain in half in part 4. I created the monster. Thank you for letting me kill the monster.
And this is
Joseph Zito,
the
director of Friday the 13th Final Chapter.
And I'm Eric Anderson, and I played Rob. And we're at the house where we shot the movie.
This is really the site of the death of Jason.
Right there.
We have a big special effects makeup crew, and they're all around. And, you know, they're all around, and they're pumping blood and moving the tongue and, you know, working all of the parts. Mask hits the ground.
Right here.
And the machete is picked up here, and Tommy ends up taking the machete, you know, and killing Jason. The die.
Tommy!
You maybe were expecting something quick. Tommy hits him in the blade, in the head with the blade. You know, the end. No, he slides down the blade. Not too shabby. But creating Jason's handiwork is never an easy task. Neither is creating Jason Voorhees. I should know. So what does it take to create an unforgettable movie villain?
I came up with the idea for Jason's name because originally it was going to be Josh. But the more I worked on the film and the creepier the whole subject of that got, I stuck with the J and went to Jason.
Tommy Savini, who of course did all those fabulous special effects, gave me some Polaroids to look at, and he said, "Oh, that's your son, Jason. He's a mongoloid." I said, "He's what?"
His features were really a guy that I used to see in my neighborhood, a homeless drunk guy. He, you know, one ear was lower than the other. You know, it was almost a Quasimodo kind of guy.
The first thing they do is they take a cast of your head. There's fake teeth. There's a glass eye. One thing people often ask is, was it specially made to go underwater and stuff like that? And no, it was just, you know, it was a latex prosthetic.
Once I put the bag over my head and I ran in the woods, I couldn't see anything because the bag flopped back and forth. And he came up with this idea, well, we'll put double face tape here, and we'll hold it right close to your eye. This way you'll see where you're going. And it worked great. But from taking the tape on and off, I started to develop burns on my face.
First they cut off all your hair, and then they started to build the face with, you know, little rubber forms they would glue on. And they sent me to a dentist that created dental plates that would go in that were sort of the worst dental problems anyone could ever have. And they built the beard and the hair and they taped off the eye. It's sort of painful to have all this stuff put on. The scene of Friday the 13th, too, where Jason comes careening through the window, they built a platform outside the house. The platform was probably 4 feet long. So we coordinated how many steps it takes. So 1, 2, 3, boom!
Give me your muffin.
At the time when this was created, there was a serial killer running around in Texas. And he was killing people with a potato sack on his head. This could have been the inspiration, which I believe the potato sack is a little scarier than the hockey mask, which of course is now iconic.
I didn't get any direction from Steve Miner at all. He actually came to me and said, "You're just a mindless killer. You're like the living version of Jaws." I used to have to go in and do about 6, sometimes 7 hours of makeup. And it was 11 different appliances that they glued to my face. The bad part about it was that as soon as they'd finished, it was usually lunchtime and I couldn't eat. So they used to give me tiger's milk through a straw.
Jason in our film was played by Ted White, and his way of keeping the character was kind of separating himself from everybody else. I don't remember really him having conversation with anybody.
I actually turned it down to begin with, and later on I did accept it. After I accepted it, I did go down and rent 2 of the Jasons, and I watched Jason itself, how he moved and so forth, and I felt that I'd like to play him a little bit different. I'd like for him to move a little bit different. Another way of doing it would be the fast move, to move faster, and that's how I portrayed him. That's what I wanted to do with him. Even when I was in full costume, makeup, everything, I stayed away from the cast completely. I sat by myself on the set. I just stayed away from everybody, and I tried to keep in character as much as possible. I like the mystique of being by myself, not being close to anybody. The scene upstairs where they hit me over the head with a television set, little did I know that TV set was going to stay on my head. I had no idea where I was. I couldn't see out of that thing. It was just a hand feeling of the stairway. I was offered in the 5th one and the 6th one. I could have done either one of them, and I turned them down. I'm sorry now that I did turn them down.
In 5, I actually played an imposter of Jason, and I did have a couple moments where I did play the apparition of Jason himself, where those were supposedly different Jason characters. I just played Jason through the whole movie. In the film, there was obviously they had to distinguish in some way, so they used the blue for the marks on the mask for the imposter Jason, where when I did the actual Jason, I was wearing the real mask with the red marks on it. The makeup with this particular character wasn't too intense. The Jason character, though, was a pullover mask with a face cut out, and all I had to do was darken my eyes and then put the hockey mask over it.
We never talked about this. It's really not in the script, any, motivation. There isn't any. So I felt that Roy was a little disturbed to begin with. The first time I put on the green jumpsuit and the boots, and I zipped them up, I looked at myself in the mirror, and I thought, is this me?
One of the exciting things for me was the creation of Jason's mask. So we took a hockey mask and kind of customized it. We basically redesigned some of the ventilation holes. We created basically a new positive. From the positive, we made a big block rubber mold, and from that created what's called a buck, a heavy-duty cement wedge that on the top of it has the veneer of the hockey mask. At that point, using a real heavy-duty plastic, we did what's called vacuum forming. The vacuum forming draws apart, and we pull it out, and bang, we get Jason's mask.
When we portrayed it, he got stronger. Every opportunity of a fight scene or a kill enhanced his knowledge of killing or his strength. Every time he was shot and put down, he came back stronger the next time. Tom was very adamant. He did not want a machine on stage. When you were on set, he wanted to make sure there was some human contact, and people could relate to it. Jason just is indestructible, and when you put the costume on, you really project it, and the projection had to be through the body. 100% through the body. Just the simplistic little movement would create fear. As soon as the mask comes down, it's very simple to get into the character. Nice thing about it is, you get to kill 17, 18 people. You don't go to prison.
Every scar, every rip, every tear that Jason ever had was in the Jason that we created for Part 7.
As far as playing the character, I wanted to just do what felt natural. My goal was to just add some more life to the character, even though he is kind of a zombie. People ask me, why does the makeup change so much from movie to movie, and the hockey mask changes and everything else? Basically, it's because it's a different makeup effects person who designs it. The first movie I did, Part 7, the makeup was real extensive, many pieces. It took about 3.5 hours a day. It was hard to work in, but fantastic makeup. Uber Jason. That was an entire one-piece suit that did have a zipper in the back, but very well concealed. On the suit, it limited my motion a lot with the arm and the leg that had the metallic pieces. I still love the design of that Uber Jason mask.
He brought a lot to the role. No matter who directed him, no matter what movie he was in, you could tell Kane's Jason from other people's Jason.
Having Kane Hodder play Jason 4 times
really established him as Jason. I think stepping into it, I was a little leery because a lot of the feedback that fans were putting out there was negative, I think, in the beginning. But then when the movie came out, it became very, very positive. They were big shoes, but I'm a big guy.
I remember the first day he showed up on the set, the first night we shot him. I turned around, and there he was in full glory. I mean, his boots were like this thick anyway. And then you put on everything else that he's wearing, and he was 6'8". And I'm not kidding, it scared the hell out of me.
My portrayal of Jason showed another side that you don't normally get to see. In Freddy vs. Jason, you see him actually interact with his mother, and you see him confronted by fears. I just went back to my childhood, and I think I thought a lot about Frankenstein. Not really alive, but not really dead. Even if you look at the movements, the walk and stuff like that, I think I used a little bit of Frankenstein.
Even though, people think he just kind of stands there and lumbers along with his machete, you have to feel that there's a physical force that could actually be as evil and as powerful as he is.
Sorry, buddy. I hope it was over quickly. The truth is, like this guy, most people don't survive their encounter with our murderous mongoloid. Still, there have been a few that gave Jason quite a headache. The people that insist on not going down without a fight. It's a small group, but they certainly gave Jason a big run for his money. Or his machete.
So whether it's Alice, or it's Ginny, or it's Chris, or any of these girls who make it to the end, they usually have some common characteristics. The most important is their chastity, their purity.
They're generally not there to just party, and as a result, they get rewarded by being able to live through.
It was usually the outcast. It was usually the good girl. It's the one who didn't smoke pot, who didn't have premarital sex. She was always the one who was able to take him on. And I think that goes back to the most primitive storytelling of just good versus evil.
The archetypes for them are the innocent girl next door.
I never felt like a victim. As a matter of fact, I felt very empowered by the role. The women were stronger in this film than the guys were. She's a typical regular gal. She's like any teenager or, young adult trying to figure out what they want to do with their life. She didn't run with the pack, and she was different. But that didn't mean she was virtuous. It just meant she thought things through differently. I would love the opportunity to come back.
It's so much more satisfying to watch a woman destroy this tremendous evil.
Amy Steele, she was just so adorable. She was so girl next door-ish. She would probably be my all-time favorite Friday girl.
To know that I did one of these films where they get all these women in that are so vulnerable, and to be the one that people think was strong and intelligent, it just feels good. Ginny was written in a more multi-dimensional kind of way. And there was something a little bit separate about her than everybody. She didn't need a group of people around her. She was strong enough to stand on her own. She wanted to figure it out.
I mean, what would it be like today? Some kind of out-of-control psychopath? A frightened retard? A child trapped in a man's body?
I think my favorite personally was Lar Park Lincoln in Part 7. Just the ability to come in with the mind and to manipulate Jason like she did. I mean, she was equal.
The genius convention of adding a character with telekinesis to give Jason a new sort of foil. And the final battle was pretty fantastic.
One thing that I didn't want to do is I didn't want to play a psychic or someone who felt they had telekinetic abilities, like they were someone going into a stroke and doing some cartoonish version of what she was dealing with.
Lar Park Lincoln as Tina she's classic. It was a different take on the story. That character gave it a great brawl.
She didn't back down. She never really ran from him. She chased him. And we have the great street scene where she goes right up to him, and I love the twigs coming around his legs and taking him down that way.
Most worthy opponents of Jason from the movies that I did, certainly Tina has to be there because she created the most damage to Jason and survived.
They also started a trend where, the surviving girl's love interest started making it through as well.
I'm honored that I was a survivor. If Jason wanted to bring it on again, I'd come back.
I would love to tackle her again. Although I think I would do it with better hair serum so my hair wouldn't be as frizzy as it was throughout the entire shooting of that film.
I think of the whole series, I think Tommy Jarvis is probably one of Jason's biggest adversaries.
Jason, don't you remember? Remember, Jason?
Tommy's an outsider, like Jason. Tommy's a kid that doesn't fit in. So there is a relationship between Tommy and Jason when Tommy takes on the persona and impersonates him to as a weapon to undo him.
I would love to have gone up against Corey Feldman just because I'd like to squeeze his head until it pops.
Tommy had a very unique relationship to Jason because, you know, at least at the end of Part 5, he actually looks like he will become the next Jason. And in Part 4, which Corey Feldman played so beautifully, he ends up in an insane asylum. Is he monster or victim? Well, he's a little bit of both.
This mother killed everybody. He ain't get me, though. I ran him over with a tractor. One of the very few brothers that survived the Friday the 13th series, by the way. They wanted to kill me off in Part 6, but we said, nope, not doing that to us.
John LeMay's character, another good one because we had a hell of a fight.
I did put up a pretty good fight. The electricity's going off everywhere, and I'm just breathing heavy and sweating a lot and smacking the hell out of him. That was fun. But surviving Jason is an honor. In my obituary, it'll say, John survived Jason, but could not survive life.
Rennie had a special connection to Jason because I think her evil uncle was trying to teach her how to swim when she was a little girl.
I tossed her in the water, which was a not very nice thing to do for an uncle. And she had an inordinate fear of drowning.
And she saw Jason under the water. I felt very empowered playing the part, especially at the end when, you know, I was the only one surviving and there we were in the sewers, and I felt like, all right, this is a nice, tough, accurate portrayal of a girl's strength.
You get me in the leg, and you're not gonna get me now.
I would probably go back and do another Friday the 13th, if nothing else than just to make my boys happy.
Women in Friday the 13th movies are always strong, strong characters. And we wanted to be true to that. So Todd and I came up with this idea of this robot and making the robot female.
One of the most delightful things about her is like just unstoppable, unflappable. I feel very privileged in that I got to survive that movie. Even though he knocked my block off and I was a talking head for I think the last third of the movie, I feel like one of the lucky ones.
I think most of the people that have survived have been women because all of us directors have a tremendous amount of guilt for what we've done to all of these poor girls in the movies.
I do think that the heroines have a strength that's there, but a real vulnerability that attracts people. You know, people want to love you and they want to cheer for you.
If they were to ask me to do sort of, the Friday the 13th survivors, going to take on Jason, would I do it? Hell yeah. Wouldn't it be great if the strong women of the series came back and took him on? It'd be great. So maybe Adrian and Laura and myself.
I think that it would be very interesting if you had a triad of the girls where you would have the Powers, an extremely strong one, and just a ballsy character.
It would be a dream movie for the fans, and I think we could still pull it off. We still have a couple of good years in us.
Jason. Where's Jason?
We took care of him. Please help me.
Yeah, bad luck sure can be bloody. It's not just the victims on the screen that run into problems. Over the past 30 years, there have been troublesome times for the Friday the 13th filmmakers as well. Many had nothing whatsoever to do with our hockey-masked friend.
Paul?
Shooting my death scene was a bit of a challenge. That's where the horror part came into the filming for me. You know, from here down, I was in the water. There were points where I just felt like I couldn't go on anymore.
It was either 22 or 23 degrees. It was very, very cold, and she had a bikini on, and she was freezing. She was so cold, her teeth were chattering, and this girl was actually turning blue.
You know, Ted White stood up for me and demanded that we get the shot now or else. And it turns out that I had gotten hypothermia, and I was quite sick for several days after that.
A whole day spent filming the end of the movie where Jason's getting sucked into the earth and trying to drag me down with him. On the soundstage, they pretty much created this large sandbox with a hole in it in which Jason would pop up, grab me by the leg, and keep pulling me down. And for some reason, that sequence took a half a day, with me screaming at the top of my lungs and just wearing my body out. I thought every shot was going to be the last dang one, you know? I thought it was it. We got this one, baby. I don't think I've ever been so exhausted in my life.
And now, dirt demons, everything up, moving.
The visual effects climax, all these demons came up from below the ground and started grabbing Jason and trying to pull him down into hell. And K&B had a very elaborate sequence designed for that with all kinds of puppets, and we had a very elaborate miniature, which wound up not being used because of technical problems, that actually grabbed Jason and started dragging him under.
Isn't that cool? Yeah, how many people get this going on?
On the final day of production, I got my action figure, made by the hair and makeup guys. So this is my one-of-a-kind action figure.
We shot the ending twice. We actually did another ending, which most people have never seen, which Dana Kimmel comes up to the door of the house in a dream, and Jason comes through the front door and decapitates her.
This is the actual mask that was done on my skin. It's a little, oh, here's a worm. It's a little crumbly, but it's split up the back because as it was on my face all the way around my neck, I had a bald cap on. They did the whole thing right on my head. And so then to get me out of it, they split it right up the back. So it used to be something like this, but.
My character in the movie had to be stoned. And so I thought, wouldn't that be interesting to actually be stoned on camera? So I go to my trailer and I get stoned. And I'm a very paranoid stoned person. So it was the worst idea I could have ever done. And they knocked on my door to go to the set. I'm like, what? You know, and they're like, we're ready for you. And I'm like, okay. So, you know, they take me and I'm on the set. And actors don't get stoned and act. I mean, it's absolutely the worst thing. I was out of my mind.
I do remember scene in my bedroom where this girl comes on to me, and I was getting very keyed up, turned on. In the editing, they didn't show any of that. And I was pissed off. I was really having it affect me.
The MPAA really went after the Friday the 13th films because they were asleep when the first film was rated. They kind of let it pass. When the sequels came out and after all the criticism, they had to be more stringent.
Probably the most heavily edited was Part 7. And the MPAA was just vicious towards that film for some reason.
Ratings board raped my movie. I equate horror to telling a joke. Everything's in the setup, and then the payoff has got to be, whoa, that's great. We were telling the joke, and we weren't allowed to give them the punchline. So what you see in the final cut of Friday 7, which is not really my cut, a very watered-down version of what we hoped it would be.
You know, the MPAA was just like responding to a lot of parent advocate groups and stuff like that were coming out of the woodwork. I mean, you had, parents picketing out front of theaters for certain films sometimes.
I think that the MPAA gets crazy when you combine sex and violence at the same time. So I think that's something you have to be careful about.
All the sequels really went through the ringer to secure our ratings.
The MPAA, after a lot of heavy-duty fights, insisted that we omit 47 seconds. Almost every kill was either off-screen or minimized.
Tiffany Helm, there was a scene that nobody knows about where she had her death scene. I think they had to change it because it would have been rated X if they kept it. Jason was going to go in for the kill. Tiffany was going to have her legs up like this, and he was just going to go like, couldn't show that. Couldn't show that back then. That was cut. Rated X. X. Show that.
Well, Friday the 13th was the greatest experience for me. And then slowly I realized I had a stalker. I had an ordeal with him up close at one point, which in itself is a horror movie. It's all okay now. It's all good now. And having the 3 generations of fans from around the world that fly in to wherever I am at a city or a convention that really talk to me and care and tell me how much it affected them when they found out, it's just a gift. It's a beautiful thing, and I don't care how sappy it sounds. I thank them.
One of the scary moments on the set was in Jason's lair when I put the sweater on and I talked to him about Mother, and he's supposed to bring up this pickaxe. So I got really anxious and I brought the machete down.
She missed the pickaxe, and she came down on my finger.
And he goes to the hospital with I think he had the machete through his chest or something, and walks into the emergency room, and they're like, oh my God. And they said, no, it's just right here on my finger.
And I have 13 stitches in this finger. It's right here. This right here is 13 stitches.
And then he came back and we started all over again.
We stayed at the camp, and at one of our first nights in the cabins, I think it was John Fury and Bill Randolph and Russell Todd knew where I was staying, and they went to the screen windows when it was really dark out, and they started scratching on the screen windows. I fainted. I actually fainted flat on the floor because I just went, poof.
Though the counselors at Crystal Lake worked very hard to keep the rules of the camp clear, the same can't be said for the Friday the 13th films, which have had more than their share of ambiguities and inconsistencies, leaving the fans longing for more.
Oh, no way, Becca. You so owe me one bra.
Well, okay. Mr. Monopoly is so much fun.
One of the things that the Friday series never really took pride in was continuity. How could it be Friday the 13th if 2, 3, and 4 are within 3 or 4 days? I don't think Monday the 16th has quite the same ring to it.
People send me Jason timelines and show me categorically where I'm wrong about certain things, and where the writer of 6 was wrong, or the writer of 3 was wrong. And you know what? So what? I just don't know.
The fans have told me at convention after convention that they felt, quote unquote, ripped off about the way Alice died in part 2. She didn't even see him. It's like it could have been anyone. As far as I'm concerned, it was somebody else. If Jason is who I believe he is and who I think the fans think he is, it's not like he can look her number up in the phone book. It's not like she would be listed in the phone book.
She got away. But in the second one, he comes to her apartment and kills her. Now, what I want to know is, how did Jason get a plane ticket?
There was a Friday the 13th TV series.
The only thing that the series and the movies had in common was the title.
It turns out it was about people trying to retrieve cursed artifacts from a pawn shop.
I think a lot of people who were really big fans of the series didn't like the fact that they stole the name and tried to sneak a fast one past everybody.
So beginning with part 3, when Jason finds the mask that everyone identifies with him, there's been some debate over the years about how that happened.
The one thing that everybody likes to take credit for is who put the hockey mask on Jason. One day, we were doing makeup tests on Friday the 13th, part 3. So just for the 3D concept, I must admit, in modesty,
Did I put the hockey mask on Jason?
I don't care what anybody says. They weren't going to use that bag again based on what happened to me with the burns. They had to come up with another idea. That's why they came up with the hockey mask.
I believe it was Peter Schindler and Marty Becker were Detroit Islander hockey fans. And it was their idea to come up with a hockey mask to cover the face up.
Every time kids come to my door wearing the Jason hockey mask, I figure, wow, this is another 50 cents I didn't get.
They're all still bickering about it, but you heard it here. My
The end of Friday the 13th Part 2 is still one of the most confusing endings of that series. Probably easily the most, other than the toxic waste reversion of teenage Jason.
Paul? Where's Paul?
For me, it wasn't a dream. Maybe that's one of the good parts of the movie, is that you get to decide that for yourself.
On Freddy versus Jason, they went a different direction with casting Jason, and didn't cast Kane Hodder, and I was really surprised.
I really wanted to use Kane, and then Ronnie Yu decided that he really kind of liked this other guy, and he was directing the movie, and I said, fine. It was a shame at some level that Kane didn't get to do it.
About our clothes, I mean, it's a kind of, that's slightly the weirdest thing about our roles, which were supposed to be these sexy girls, and we're dressed in these ghastly clothes.
Well, what about our hair as well? Our hair put up in sort of little librarian buns.
Yeah.
I mean, hello.
And the pink puffy shirts with the shoulder pads.
It's kind of like Springfield for The Simpsons. It's like, where is Crystal Lake? It would be nice to find out someday, where is this Crystal Lake? Because I'd like to go there and swim.
I can definitively answer the question of where is Crystal Lake. Crystal Lake is in Green Valley, New Jersey. And the reason we know that is because in Part 3, Shelley and Vera go to a country store, and in the store you can see in the back it says, "Welcome to Green Valley, New Jersey." Case closed.
Jason Takes Manhattan, outside of having one of the great teaser posters of all time, which of course was then discontinued, I mean, ultimately, the I Heart New York, that's actually something that's trademarked by probably, I'm guessing, the Tourism Bureau, if memory serves, and that's actually a very valuable license to them, ultimately.
Crystal Lake has changed sizes. Somehow the boat gets from this tiny little lake to the Atlantic Ocean to New York. The cruise ship wasn't really in the lake. The cruise ship was on the ocean. In my mind, I had it justified because I've seen places where you can go from a lake to the ocean. And we ultimately just said, no, let's forget it. People may get mad at us for that, but let's go for it.
Body switching in Jason Goes to Hell, I think that was a terrible, terrible decision.
The fact that Jason turned into a slug in Part 9, unacceptable.
The most rational character in the entire Friday the 13th series is the dog in Part 4. You don't know whether Jason grabbed the dog and threw him out the window. The dog sees Jason, and the next shot is the dog apparently jumping through the window.
There was a big fight over whether we could kill the dog. I think he jumped, but I was hoping some people would think Jason did it.
Maybe Tina from Part 7 telekinetically yanked the dog out the window.
Well, he was bound to catch up with her, sooner or later. If there's one thing that we've learned, it's escaping Jason is a rarity. Over the last 3 decades, his reign of terror has gone beyond the silver screen. In fact, it's clear that Jason has done more than take Manhattan. In fact, I'd say he's conquered the world. That had to hurt.
Interestingly enough, Jason did manage to infiltrate the pop culture in a big, big way. And I think that all started with Part 3 in 3D.
I have the home theater glass set, so you can sit and watch it, and people would walk into my house, and I'd have them on and be like, hey, what's up? I'm watching Friday the 13th Part 3.
From a merchandising perspective, it's huge. I cannot believe the branding of Jason. He is no less marketable than Ronald McDonald or Mickey Mouse at this point.
Jason is making money. Does he get a percentage of the sales? I'm very curious.
Jason Voorhees has been mass marketed over the years, starting with this Nintendo game back in the early 80s.
And that was the worst game ever. All you did is run around to cabins, and there'd be like, nothing. Jason's in here, I'm dead.
My name's James Rolfe. I have an internet show, The Angry Video Game Nerd.
The Friday the 13th episode made its debut on Friday the 13th, October 2006. Uh-oh, he's coming. Whoa! Well, he scared the shit out of me, and now he's fighting me like in Mike Tyson's Punch-Out.
They've created a hero image of an individual that's unstoppable.
He's this super slasher hero. There's no rhyme or reason, you know. I mean, he's been on lunch boxes and thermoses, and I think he was in a Nike commercial.
Those, I believe, were, you know, banned or pulled from the market.
There's been countless TV shows that have parodied Friday the 13th, from Mad TV.
Jason Takes NASA.
Oh, you know, we've done a bunch of Friday the 13th parodies. The first thing we did was a horror movie, Big Brother. We did a Scooby Gang investigates the mystery of Camp Crystal Lake.
When it gets like reference on The Simpsons or South Park, it's like you're proud to smell them. I mean, I love the fact that The Simpsons, you have Jason and Freddy.
They should be here by now. What are you gonna do?
He got that MTV Movie Award. It was absolutely like invigorating for all the fans, and also it was like, where have we landed exactly as a society? Like, we're giving a Lifetime Achievement Award to a masked predator.
Shortly after we did Jason Takes Manhattan, I was asked to do the Arsenio Hall show in costume as a guest. He pulled the whole interview off by talking to someone who doesn't speak.
How are you?
That's good. One of the rare things I've ever done in full costume besides the movie.
Snow globes, there's dolls, there's even a haunted house at Universal Studios in Florida and in Hollywood.
One of the greatest thrills that I've had as a Jason fan was going to the Universal Horror Nights last year. Jason Voorhees is running after you. It's a real guy in the whole costume. I kind of pooped my pants a little bit.
Hi, I'm John Murdy, creative director of Universal Studios Hollywood's Halloween Horror Nights, and right now we are standing in front of the Crystal Lake cabin from Friday the 13th, Camp Blood. When you're designing a haunted attraction like this, there's basically three things you'll look for. One is that the property has legs. Second is that the characters are something that you can achieve with actors. And the third is that the environments are strong and easily recognizable. And Friday the 13th has all three. So we were very lucky when we worked with New Line. We were able to get all three of those properties and basically turn our theme park into a living horror movie. In this case, he's got a poor victim stuck in this vise. His head's in the vise. Jason comes in and gives the vise a crank. We have a triggered audio effect that sounds like his bones in his skull are crushing. And we tie this into a water spritz effect so that the guests think eye goo is shooting out of the victim onto them. This is for the wheelchair victim that has the machete in his head. Again, there's a secret door for Jason back here so he can make a dramatic entrance. And this poor guy that you think is dead leaps to life. When you're designing an attraction like Friday the 13th Camp Blood, for us, what we really want to do is we want to deliver to the fans all their favorite kills from the Friday the 13th series. So this is a kill from Freddy vs. Jason. This is the guy who gets his back broken in half. There's a performer that's laying here with his head against the bed. Jason comes storming into the room. He grabs hold of the bed, and he gives it a good...
With Jason, they made countless toys. Every year, there's new editions coming out.
The McFarlane stuff and the Mezco stuff, they all look great. Like, they're really well sculpted, articulated, awesome looking, well painted.
Who would have thought there would be Jason dolls?
There was a great book that came out a couple years ago, Crystal Lake Memories, about Friday the 13th. Peter Brecky did a great job. He interviewed a lot of us in the series, from producers, directors, to actors, of course. And it covers the series from A to Z.
It was so fun to have come to the book signing and to see all the people that are now a part of this whole Friday the 13th phenomenon. It was a party for the launch of the Crystal Lake Memories book, and we signed all of the books. And then, of course, Jason showed up and, cut the cake with a machete, and that was awfully fun.
An iconic brand has been built. Everybody knows Jason. Everybody, all ages. It's all over the world.
At Halloween, there's always going to be some kid down the hall wearing a hockey mask.
there's at least one kid who comes down your street who is Jason Voorhees. I mean, and the funny thing is he's up there with Santa Claus in the sense that everybody knows who it is.
Jason is a big icon. I had a trick-or-treater come to my house, a little kid dressed as Jason, and I went, oh, I worked with him. And the kid kind of looked at me like he didn't understand.
And I asked my nephew, because he's 13, I said, what is that? And he goes, oh, that's the Jason mask. And I said, you know, I'm in one of those movies. And he said, oh, I've never seen any of those movies, but, you know, I know all about Jason.
In hindsight, it seems silly that there wouldn't have been a backlash. Critics were outraged. I mean, Gene Siskel launched a letter-writing campaign to Paramount.
Friday the 13th, the final chapter, an immoral and reprehensible piece of trash.
When Roger Ebert said that Friday the 13th was an immoral and reprehensible piece of trash, I thought, 2 thumbs up. Gotta see it.
I mean, there's just so much in our culture that gets labeled things unnecessarily or just unjustifiably. And I think Friday the 13th they're scary movies. As film critics, shame on them for not appreciating the fact that they are artistic entertainment vehicles for a very defined demographic.
We have fun reading reviews. We know what they're going to be like, and especially if someone gets, particularly bitchy and clever, it's great. In a way, it's sort of like the Friday the 13th movie itself. If they're clever in the way they're trying to kill you, you cheer.
What's more appealing than forbidden fruit? And that's the oldest story that there is. So when you say to a young 13-year-old, you can't go see that movie, young man, it's a piece of immoral trash, well, I'm pretty confident that's the first thing the 13-year-old's going to go to do.
I think as long as nobody's going out and doing nothing crazy, they never had to put "Don't try this at home" on the screen, so it's all fun.
It's not attracting psychos to it. It really does attract a very respectful group of people.
Jason can survive anything, even bad reviews.
If you're taking these films so seriously, you should probably go have a Valium or do something else.
I started the Screamfest Horror Film Festival in 2001 as a platform to give independent filmmakers a way to further their career and have their work be shown to the industry. I think some of the films that we've screened in Screamfest definitely have been influenced by Friday the 13th. Most recently, I would say Adam Green's Hatchet.
I think almost any slasher movie post Friday the 13th kind of tipped their hat to it.
And it's a great independent film, and it's great to look back and, 20 some odd years later to look back and see young filmmakers like an Adam up and coming to have a film that's reminiscent of Friday the 13th. So it's kind of cool.
I've been to a million conventions, and I see people with Jason tattoos.
It's a lot of fun.
Come on, people. We bleed for this shit.
The fans are open to creating their own mythology about them, too. He had just received a surprise postcard from Jason, inviting him to take part in a slay-a-thon.
Jason doesn't have a star on the Walk of Fame. This is terrible. He's been around for 30 years, and he can't get a star? Jason is a star.
Oh, sorry, I didn't know anybody was using this room. Okay, I admit it, I love this stuff. But as we've seen, so do millions of others. I mean, after all, a good killer's never out of style, right? Which is exactly why the original terrifying legend of Jason Voorhees is being reimagined and repackaged for a whole new generation of fans. It's exciting to see Jason do some tricks.
So now, after all of this time playing around with Jason for all these years, there comes a new look, a new feel, hopefully, in this new reimagining or reboot of the franchise.
I hope the fans will enjoy it from the same point of view I enjoyed it from, which is to see Jason for the first time again.
To be able to work with Jason Voorhees and to see that mask. I mean, I can tell you the first day that he wore that mask on set, we all got chills. It was amazing. And it was amazing to think that here's this thing that we've grown up with, and it's right here, and we can touch it and feel it, because when we watched it as kids, it felt so far away.
It's made by people who love the franchise, but who are going at it with many more resources than we ever had or ever dreamed of.
This remake centers around this brother-sister story between the Whitney character and the Clay character, which is played by Jared Padalecki. It doesn't go so well.
You know, there's enough characters in there to actually bring some comedy into it. So there's going to be, obviously, you know, the crazy deaths. They've already said there's 13. They've already said that, so I'm not giving away anything. But along with the deaths, you might have some other lighter moments, and it's going to be a good contrast.
What I think makes this one unique is Jason being more humanistic and not sort of that supernatural zombie.
He's a person. We are coming into a time now where everyone's becoming more emotional and in touch with their feelings, so we give Jason this backstory, and I feel like people can relate to him more, which almost makes the killings and the deaths seem justified. I think there's more heart involved.
And that I think is exciting because it's a new face of Jason. And you have to figure out how to recreate and keep, you know, renewing this franchise. And they've taken sort of the best elements of the first four and wrapped it into one.
What the fans can expect to see from the new Friday the 13th is the best aspects of the films they've loved in the past, taken out and mixed up and put into a brand new film for everybody. I think they're going to see the intensity. They're going to see over-the-top, brutal kills.
We really strive to give audiences kills that they hadn't seen before, or, and maybe better, kills they had seen, but we added something else to the kills. And something else that was in the original that really hasn't been in any horror movies lately, our movie has a ton of nudity in it.
They're going to see over-the-top, unique sex scenes. It's going to be an entertaining, wild roller coaster of a ride.
We've gone to great lengths to make the movie feel very authentic, to be very respectful to the character.
I think this film is going to greatly satisfy all the genre fans, not just the hardcore Friday the 13th fans. It's not only remarkably scary, but very, very funny.
The mythology will stay intact. Jason is still Jason.
Our hope is that the fans, the true fans, love the film as much as people who've never seen the movie before. We're hopeful that all of our attempts at authenticity will have paid off for them, and we suspect that they will, but you never know.
I think regardless, they're going to be pulled in, and that's that.
I'm excited to be a part of this colossal franchise.
To just be a part of the name Friday the 13th is a little exhilarating, I have to say.
And we all love Jason Voorhees. I mean, who doesn't?
Reggie will kick his butt. Reggie the Reckless will kick Jason's butt now. I will put the red suit on, and I will whip Jason's behind. I ain't playing.
We can only hope that the people who loved Friday the 13th in the first place will be satisfied with this newer, slicker, kind of cooler version of the story. On the other hand, I think that you're going to have people that are going to see this new version as the first Friday the 13th they ever saw. And this will hopefully, you know, set a new level of quality so that the franchise can continue forward.
Excuse me, miss, is this yours? I think you dropped... She won't be needing this. Over the years, it's been the unstoppable Jason that's kept moviegoers flocking to theaters for a bloody good time. But it's not just the fans who appreciate Jason's never-ending reign of terror.
Friday the 13th has had a life of its own. It's quite amazing.
There are people who just love this genre.
The Friday the 13th films are an e-ticket ride, and I think people are constantly ready to pay up for that ride.
On the night of its opening, my wife said, let's go out to see it. We went to 6 theaters that night, and we couldn't get in. We couldn't get in anywhere. And I said to my wife, holy cow, I think we really did something.
When I tell them that I was in Friday the 13th, it's so fun for me.
Thanks to Friday the 13th, by 15 minutes, it keeps going.
Playing a character that's known around the world is an amazing feeling and something I'm really proud of.
There's really no putting your finger on it, but there seems to be a loyalty and a fascination with it that just drives it forward.
It's really the audience that brings Jason back to life every time.
The legend grows from picture to picture to picture. People like getting scared. They don't know what's going to happen. They're just going to wait.
It surprises me from time to time just about how the Friday the 13th movies continue and just go on and on. You know, the characters die, but the movie doesn't.
When you do the final chapter, you expect for it to be the final chapter. This was the last one. We were doing the very last one.
The final Friday. And I remember people saying, it's not going to be the final Friday. That was 1992.
I get, 3, 4, 5 requests a week for autographs and pictures and so on from all over the world.
People still contact me. They contact me about things from the film that I forgot about. People send me things to sign, big, long posters of stuff. I'm like, how did they get this?
Friday the 13th has given me a gift that is just bigger than life itself. I get the most beautiful stories about how Alice's strength has inspired so many people around the world.
I was 27 years old, and I was the lead in the movie. #1 box office movie at Paramount for like 2 weekends.
This was the best first acting gig I could have gotten, because when you have a knife coming at you, you really learn how to hit your mark.
I hope the audience is having as much fun watching this as we are making it.
Personally, it was an honor. Still is an honor to be associated with it.
And it's really great entertainment, so I think that's why he's still around. I think the audience wants to see more Jason the same way that they want to see more Bond, the same way they want to see more Batman.
I found that a movie that I really didn't give 2 cents for in the beginning has brought me into the world, into the lives of people who have viewed it in a very special way.
Did you know that a young boy drowned? The counselors weren't paying any attention. His name was Jason.
Well, there you have it. Friday the 13th. A movie that was made to keep filmmakers like on, but made America afraid to turn them off. And one that single-handedly gave birth to modern slasher cinema, generating box office success beyond anybody's wildest dreams. Friday the 13th continues to inspire and influence emerging filmmakers to try to capture their own lightning in the bottle. And on top of that, I can proudly proclaim that Jason Voorhees is a pop culture icon, recognized the world over. So here we are. It's 3 decades later, and Friday the 13th lives on. And it's because of you that Jason Voorhees keeps coming back to terrify audiences. So let me return the favor. I'll give you some advice. If somebody invites you to Camp Crystal Lake, just don't go. You see what I mean?
My bad, sorry.
It's supposed to be key, 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 mom, mom.
I
Not
know.
everybody knows
That's
that.
true, but that's the way it sounds.
I showed him how I can fart, but the camera wasn't rolling, so yeah.
I think if Vera had...
Excuse me. Thought it was Jason.
Kill her, Mommy, kill her.
And he's still there.
There's somebody in this fucking room! Why do you do these stupid things?
I just want you to like me.
I got a date with a soap on a rope.
Ted? Ted, where's the corkscrew?
Come on, Sarah. Strip and dip.
Bad news cruise.
It's okay, guys. He just wants his machete back.
Axel, you are the Super Bowl of self-abuse.
This feels good.
Nobody's gonna touch that fucking ray of sunshine.
I have seen enough horror movies to know any weirdo wearing a mask is never friendly.
That's what's known as screwing a pooch.
Ben, are you coming back or not? And then...
You didn't get me in the lake, Jason, and you're not gonna get me now.
My earring.
You could use a little touch-up work first.
Melissa's a bitch.
I know, get it. I can't even do it.
It's a real pain in the ass. And you're going to use that for sure. I know that. I said it's a real pain in the ass. You were going to use that. I know that.
Finally, he gets hacked to death by Corey fucking Feldman?
Yo, Feldog, what the fuck? I'm getting Haim on your ass. Sorry.
I found it.
I didn't have a clue as to what the plot was in Jason Goes to Hell.
A lot of shaving.
It's creepy. It's so creepy.
Homoerotic shaving.
Never show your breath.
Here comes first Jason.
We're going to go up to Crystal Lake, even though we've heard, that there's horrible things. Oh, my God, there's bananas everywhere.
It is a lot easier to go watch Jason than it is to watch Dick Cheney.
You give up?
Never.
I don't know what my lines are.
There's only one